Hello and welcome. Today we will be looking at the subreddit, wedding shaming. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe. With that out the way, let's get on with the first story. Groomzilla insists that the wedding weekend is about him and his friends, insults bride during first look, and more. I wasn't sure about posting, but I love my friend, and she did nothing wrong here. I hope she gets away from this guy soon. It sounds like he wants kids, ASAP, and I'm obviously worried for her. This turned out pretty long, because it's a list of all the madness, and might need a trigger warning for abusive behavior. I knew going in that he is emotionally abusive, but I wanted to be part of the wedding, because I worry that he's isolating her from people who care about her. The wedding venue itself was awesome. If it were a party, it would have been great, except for him. And as far as I know, she put all the effort into getting it together. She was absolutely stunning as a bride, in an amazing form-fitted vintage dress. She's gorgeous, with an awesome body, important for his insults later. So here's a sample list of the things the groom did, because I'm sure there is stuff I don't know about. Before the wedding, he was not okay with her being walked down the aisle. Refused to stand at the end of the aisle, instead, trying to insist that she needed to walk first alone, and wait for him, so that he could walk down the aisle last, and have a grand entrance that was about him. They apparently compromised, because they walked down the aisle last, together. This alone could be a subversion of gender expectations, if not for a history of emotional abuse, and what was to come. He also stated, before the wedding, that the wedding weekend was about him and the boys. She was excited to get her nails done, but when she showed them to him, he said they didn't look good, and wouldn't match her outfit. They were a neutral color that did match. During the rehearsal, he gave no input, instead sitting down and shrugging. During the first look photos before the ceremony, one of the first things he said to her was that she didn't look good, that her makeup and hair did not look good, and he was pointing out her gray hairs that stood out. They didn't. I had no idea she even had gray hairs. As a result, she was holding back tears throughout all the photos. She was very worried that he wouldn't like her vows, but she put them together on her phone, and they were very sweet, as she read them off with sincerity. She told me beforehand that he would be doing his without notes, because he considers himself a good public speaker. After she read her vows, he started his by turning to the audience and saying, "I don't have anything to read off of because I at least tried to memorize mine." Cue awkward laughter. Turns out, he wasn't very good at memorizing whatever he was going to say. He did say one nice thing about her, but then I think he got stuck, because he devolved into saying at least 3 times some variation of, "I vow to massage your," insert body part here, "every night," which also, way to take vows seriously. I doubt he even massaged her feet that first night. He ended his vows by saying that it's very important for him to look good all the time, and that he appreciates how she tries to match that energy. Half of her bridesmaids were his friends, and the assigned speech from one of her bridesmaids ended up being a girl who said, "I've been friends with him for a long time. I only hung out with her initially because he forced me to, because I was a girl, and he wanted to hang out with the guys, but I guess I'm glad I got to know her." Another bridesmaid took the mic unplanned to follow up with, "The first time we hung out all together, she was with another guy and showed up covered in bruises. Oh, haha, should I not tell that story? Anyway, it did not end well either. I left shortly after the first dance, but he also did not sit down with her during any of the dinner. He was barely with her, unless it was for a photo, and supposedly, there was screaming before the end of the night, because she changed the playlist, and he didn't approve. I hope she knows that whenever she's ready to leave, I'm here for her." Edit to add. I wanted to clarify that I did, and have told her directly, including after the wedding, that I will always be there for her, and she can always call me. Twice during the wedding I offered to sneak her out, and drive away. I don't want to get much into the family, just in case it gets tied back. They all seemed like nice people. I just wanted to chronicle his behavior in factual ways, I guess. First, on the off chance a guy like this sees this, to know he was seen, that he's not fooling anyone, and second, to bring awareness to situations like this, to remind women to stick by the women they love. It's so hard to not just give up on a friend who's experiencing abuse, which is exactly what the abuser wants. Does your friend have prior history of abusive relationship? Family dynamics. Cause honestly, it sounds like she doesn't have much confidence in what she deserves. It's hard, but the only thing you can do is be there for her, and make sure she knows it. Was her family at the wedding? Or were you her only ally? I do think that's it, that she feels like this is what she deserves, or that he has convinced her that no one else would put up with her. I unfortunately have a number of girlfriends in bad relationships, and I can't remember if she's told me he said that exactly, but I know that's the kind of thing guys like that do. Her family that I met seems sweet, and I think there's a general unspoken acknowledgement that he's crappy. I just don't know them very well, because we don't live in the same area. I was in a friend's wedding, where the groom was an abusive douche canoe. She insisted they were in love, and it would all work out, blah blah blah. The other bridesmaids and I shared a hotel room. We were just out of college, and no one had a lot of money, and the night before the wedding, we all agreed that if she called off the wedding, we would be relieved. Even though we had all spent a lot of money, it wouldn't matter if she got free of him. I literally pulled her aside and told her that if at any point, no matter when, if she didn't want to continue, all she had to do was look at me and say a code word. I don't remember what it was anymore. I had parked near the exit to the parking lot, and we would make a run for my car and just go. Unfortunately, she did not runaway bride him, but they did end up divorced a few years later. I have no idea what happened to him because he sent me some really nasty texts and I blocked him on everything. But when she did leave him, I helped her set up her escape. DIY wedding reception setup nightmare, AstroTurf table runners, entitled Narcissist Bride. This past weekend, a close friend of mine had a wedding, let's call her Karen. They were engaged last year, and Karen decided it would be cheaper for her to DIY all the decorations. For over 6 months, she had about 10 of the largest plastic totes, stuffed with reception stuff, stacked to the ceiling in her living room. Karen had asked early on if I could assist in setting up the reception, and it was just a few things. I had agreed, reluctantly, based on Karen saying it wasn't that much of a setup. I asked her 3 months out from the wedding again about what all was needed to be set up, and she said she would have detailed directions once it got closer to the date. Okay, fine. She didn't tell me how many guests, etc. This was for a 120-person wedding. Well, 2 days before the wedding, Karen creates a Facebook group chat with myself, the wedding party, minus the matron of honor, and other close friends who were allowed to stay in a house for free, who were called the house party. In this Facebook chat, she goes over all the things she has purchased for the reception, but there were no final pictures of what each table should look like and other important setup details. The night before the wedding, I asked her what the Facebook group chat was for and who was coordinating the setup. She rolled her eyes, huffed loudly, and told me that I was in charge of the setup. I had been asking her for months about what all was to be expected for the setup. There was never a clear answer. So day of wedding morning, Karen wants everyone out the door promptly at 9 a.m. to head to the venue for setup. Everyone was running a little behind due to the night before was a welcoming party that lasted until 1 a.m. She got extremely upset that everyone wasn't ready on time. We were 15 minutes late. Everyone gets to the venue, and Karen then says, "Okay, here is everything. Go set up," and walks away. Her only direction was, "Everything is labeled," and "refer to the Facebook chat group." She indicated it should only be a couple of hours' time, and that in 2 hours everyone can head back to the Airbnb to get rested and ready. I felt like I was in an escape room with a gun to my head. Karen has some crazy idea about AstroTurf grass as table runners on all the tables. The grass wasn't pre-cut to length, there were no tools that were sharp enough to cut said tacky grass, and the groom spent 3 hours alone just trying to cut the AstroTurf to perfection. Well, it took 6.5 hours, and we didn't get everything set up. We actually had to hide some things that Karen wanted displayed so we could save time. There were showers at the venue, but only the immediate bridal and groom party could use the showers. No one brought towels or shower stuff because she said we should be done in a couple of hours. The groomsmen had to shower with bathroom hand soap and use paper towels to dry off with. Everyone else bailed halfway through the setup to go back and nap and shower, and left my daughter and I to finish everything else up. I had less than 30 minutes to get ready, was not fed, and almost missed the ceremony by minutes. The Airbnb was supposed to have enough room for everyone to sleep, but the bride didn't do the head count correctly, and my daughter and I were left without beds. The bride's 14-year-old daughter got a king bed to herself, while I had to sleep on a bad couch, and my adult daughter got to have an air mattress. The 14-year-old should have taken the couch and let the adults have the king bed. Kids don't get priority sleeping arrangements. There was a cash bar at the event, $10 a drink, and all the bridesmaids and groomsmen got drink tickets. I worked almost 7 hours for free, didn't have a bed to sleep in, didn't get breakfast or lunch, and got a dinky name necklace as a thank you from the bride. She also didn't acknowledge any of the setup crew during speeches and avoided my table the whole night, while she greeted every table except for where I was sitting. The day after the event, I sent a Facebook chat to her and her husband, telling them I felt used, and after being friends with them for over 10 years I didn't appreciate how I was treated, and basically outlined everything above. I had to drive 6 hours, one way, to even get to wedding area. So please do your friends a favor and not ask them to set up a complicated reception. Just hire a team to assemble a DIY wedding. Needless to say, I am no longer friends with the entitled bride. The groom told me to go F myself, and how dare I say something to them. The day after the happiest day of his life just happened. Edit, to add, this was Karen's third marriage, and his first. She should be a pro by now. Also to add, she didn't hire a florist. She bamboozled another local friend to put together 12 table arrangements, bouquets, boutonnieres, lapel flowers, etc. Told her there would be 5 other people helping. There were 5 buckets of flowers left over. I'm surprised you stayed for all of the setup. I would have given it up. Bad planning on her side doesn't qualify as an emergency for yours. I'm sorry you had to find out what a rubbish friend she was. Not even apologizing is honestly the worst part. Brides can do DIY, but they need to plan it all, do a test run, have instructions for whoever is actually setting up. There was no meeting before setup, nothing was pre-packaged as a kit. We had to unwrap 50 individually boxed, tiny blue candle votives, find the tea lights, unwrap those, then dispose of all the trash. Also, we had to wrap 120 chairs with scarves, and a ruffle scarf, unwrap all the items, go ask multiple times. If Karen approved of the presentation, then she yelled at us for asking about it. It's tacky and I hate her. The bride is probably divorced by now, trying to plan the reception for her 4th marriage. Then about friend's wedding, she's asking way too much of guests. I, 29 female, am a bridesmaid in my friend Claudia's, 30 female, wedding. Claudia was originally born in another country than we currently live in, but has lived here for over 20 years. Nonetheless, Claudia is having a destination wedding in her country of origin. I feel like absolutely no thought was put into how to make the guests comfortable, given we are flying internationally for the wedding. For lack of a better wording, she's trying to throw a champagne-taste wedding on a boxed wine budget. To achieve this, she's asking a ton of her guests. She has not spent money on paper invitations, and instead has sent evites. It doesn't really matter, but just to give context for how little she's investing in her own day. The wedding is black tie, and the wedding website lists colors that are off limits to wear versus allowed colors. Black tie gowns are expensive. Are you saying guests need to go buy a whole new gown if the one they already have is on the not allowed colors list? For reference, the color black is on the not allowed list, which is the color gown I already own to wear to such events. Not to mention, guys needing to get tuxes. There is no hotel block for the wedding. She's staying in a very expensive hotel, away from everyone, and told everyone else to figure out their own accommodations and transportation to the venue. There are also 3 days of events: Tuesday welcome party, Wednesday to Wednesdating, Thursday after party. When I was RSVPing, the wedding website states that if you RSVP to the Thursday after party, you need to Venmo the bride, $80 per head, so $160 for my date and I, to cover our cost. In my opinion, if you can't afford to pay for it, don't host it. On top of all this, Claudia's maid of honor reached out this week to tell us all that Claudia's bachelorette weekend will be the literal weekend before the wedding in a totally different city in our home country, which is a 3-hour flight from where we live. So I am expected to fly to the bachelorette and back, and the following weekend, fly to a foreign country for a wedding, where my date and I need to contribute to cover our plates and buy very specific expensive outfits. And the icing on the cake today was that Claudia texted me and said she needs my help picking a reception dress, which she would wear in addition to her ceremony gown, and her budget for that dress alone is $3,000. Maybe funnel that $3,000 into accommodations for the 100 people flying in for your wedding. Ugh. Edit. Thank you everyone for your thoughts. I actually decided as of this morning that I'm not going to attend the bachelorette. Going to the wedding alone, for my +1 and I, will be about $2,000. The bachelorette would add another $1,000. She didn't seem mad about it, but her response was, then let's have a bridal shower in our current city. I'm not opposed to more celebrations. Elmao, I feel like she is so oblivious that just because she's getting married, our lives, finances cannot revolve around her. I am not financing a bridal shower for her. If I'm asked to attend, I will, but that's it. This sounds like it will cost each guest at least $2,000. I'm not spending $2,000 on someone else's wedding and then spending more on a gift. Hard pass. Destination wedding equals no gift. Always. Interesting, I didn't know this. I was preparing to give a gift, especially since her wedding site has a gift section where they ask for contributions to a home down payment fund. I would send regrets. That's ridiculous. Send a gift and a card and pass on that whole mess. Send her a wedding gift and stay home. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed these bride/groomzilla stories. I definitely think the groomzilla sounds like a nightmare. What man wants his bride to watch him walk down the aisle? That's definitely a first for me. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos.